I'm Rebecca. Everyone, if you get to know me, I drop the Rebecca really, really quickly. I only use it as like I just feel like Bex isn't a very professional name, so Rebecca gets used, but once you get to know me, that gets dropped straight away, and I am Bex. So I'm a multidiscipline artist. I'm based in North Wales as well. I'm based in Bethesda. I jump between mediums. I've never been able to stick to one thing. However, in the past 6 years, my obsession with printmaking began in 2020. But I do tend to use mix of mediums and but I am becoming a bit more obsessed with certain colours and certain methods. So I'm going to kick off with a little bit about my practice and all these different changes over the past 4 years, because this is 2022. And then I'll have a chat about my work in Neuro Expression. I will, just pre-warning, I will probably mumble, forget my words, say quite a bit. And if I look like I'm staring into space, that's just me trying to gather my words. So come along for the ride. So this is Disability Arts Cymru Art Prize back in 2022. And I hadn't been exhibiting that much, but I had in the past 2 years been working on learning how to screen print and starting with like really at the beginning with his basic paper stencils and a mesh count that was probably completely wrong and some rickety wooden screen print screen that I had for about I don't know, 10 years and hadn't done anything with. So I end up buying lots of art materials and sometimes don't do anything with it. And it's just in my studio or my cupboard or whatever. So COVID came and I went, I'd not been able to do much work. I'd been working full time. So I took this opportunity while I was on furlough to really kind of grasp and hold on to my and get back into my art practice, because I think at the time people had started consider me as an arts coordinator or a curator. Not everyone knew me as Bex the artist, and that was something that I don't think I'd ever want to get rid of, and I wasn't willing to get rid of. So I was kind of going, I want to get back into my practice. So I kind of, yeah, I applied for Disability Arts Cymru, didn't think much of it, and got it, which was amazing. One, because the dedicated time to work on my practice and to create new work, I kind of feel like I need deadlines. I do need something to aim for me to be able to continue creating. So this was perfect. However, I did it was a new way of creating, it was a new way of displaying, is what I should be saying. And it was a new way of having to let go, because previous to this, I'd always installed the artwork myself, and especially if it had my vinyl drawing. So what you're looking at in here is 3 plywood ovals with screen print designs on them, and then vinyl drawings. And I'd always installed the vinyl drawings myself. And on this case, because it was going around Wales, I couldn't do that. So I had to kind of like figure out and let it go and make 6 versions of these vinyl drawings for each venue, and also just let it go, which is sometimes, maybe some of you can agree with me, is quite difficult. So yeah, so that was that same year was a bit of a moment for me, because I just left my full-time work. I went into working freelance, and I really wanted to really back up on my art practice. And like I said, I got the Disability Arts Cymru Art Prize to be involved with that. And he also, I don't know how this happened, but it did. I got an honorary award for, hang on, bear with, Eiriau Llwyd's Memorial Award for printmaking. And I'd only been screen printing for 2 years. And somehow they were just, it was just fortunate that they had additional money left over, and they decided to give Sarah Gaffey, who I think is from Swansea, the main prize, and then they decided to do an honorary prize, and I got that, which is bonkers. Which allowed me then to put money towards buying proper screens, getting my drawings and my some of my designs sort of properly exposed on the screen, stop using paper stencils, go to do a night course like an introduction to printmaking, because once again, I didn't do any printmaking, didn't do it in college, didn't do it in university, didn't do any of it. And also kind of etching, dry point, aquatint, and just kind of really explored it. That money basically went into a little bit of material and a little bit of paying for courses, but mainly a lot of diesel, because my closest printmaking centre is in Wrexham. So which is about an hour and a quarter on a really bad day traffic, about an hour and a half. So on a night course, I was driving back and forth down up the A55. But I'm so grateful that I got that award, because it allowed me kind of to explore materials. I think Kerry said earlier about play, and play is something I see myself a lot with my work regarding the play with materials, the play with colour, the play with form, the play with composition. That's something I don't think play is a bad word to use when you're talking about your practice, because I think that's what we all do. I think we all play. So I'm jumping now to the end of 2023, and Manon Aust, who was the coordinator, the arts coordinator for Pontio at the time, and they had a gallery at the front of Pontio. So this was my first solo show in an institution. And this was kind of a big deal for me. One, it's my first solo show in an institution, and it was happening just before I turned 40. So it felt like this really beautiful crescendo moment of everything coming in and all this hard work of pushing myself. And I somehow, once again, got a tiny bursary from AN magazine, and I used that money once again to buy materials, and also to do a couple of sessions with a ceramicist who used to be based in Parc Llanhivan, and her company's called Irene and Edith. And she's a beautiful, beautiful ceramist, but she'd moved to Newton Le Willow, somewhere between Warrington and Manchester. And she has this lovely little studio in her shed in her house. So yeah, I went all the way over there. I'm sure there's people probably closer, but Nicola was just so lovely. And she just made me feel so welcome. And yeah, so we created a couple of pieces, ceramic pieces. And I would love to carry on playing with down this road. But everything I do tends to be with money and space and time. And if you haven't got the money, then you're not going to be able to work with materials that you want to work with. So I'm just really chuffed that I got that bit of bursary, so I could work with Nicola, and then they could be part of my solo show. And yeah, I think you can just see a little few, like there was one there, and one there. And once again, it was that playing with screen printing and vinyl, and I don't know if Jonathan's going to remember this, but a bit of orange carpet underlay, and a little bit, and another one over there as well, which I kind of used in a previous exhibition in a collective that I did in Elysium back in 2021. But something else that I'd never done before with this solo show, the solo show is called Yr Hyn Sy'n Peli, of that which fades. There was a monitor, and there was no way of moving this monitor. It was kind of like, it's stuck, this is what it is. And Manon asked me and said, do you do film work? And I'd kind of played about with a couple of things. When I was a student, I did kind of interview documentaries with my 9 and about storytelling. And I kind of did, actually, Anthony helped me do a document of a performance I did when I was leaving my 9's house. I won't go into that because I'll start rambling about that. So I kind of had a little bit of experience. But something just clicked in my head, and I decided, I've been scribbling since I was a kid, but I don't do anything with it. And I kind of had all these words that I needed to get out of my head. And I started finding kind of like, I call them scribbles because I don't feel they're good enough to be poems. But basically, that's what they are. And I found myself on the bus, no, on the bus. I was finding myself on the train going to Glasgow in August in 2023. And on that journey, I wrote this kind of monologue. And I thought to myself, I need to use this in my solo show. And and then it kind of unraveled from there. What colors, how the text, how the movement. And I also said, I need to use my own voice, which is kind of really scary because I've never done anything like that. And I'm going to do something even more scary. I'm going to read it out. Oh. So this is my monologue that I wrote, and that was part of my solo show in at Hinton and Pilley. Scared of text, of the lack of my vocabulary, one word in front of the other, anxiety of saying the wrong treiglo or misplacing my male and female nouns. Wyt ti'n meddwl mewn Cymraeg neu Saesneg? I see things gweledol, symbols and patterns. I didn't realise this until this year, that my brain had a way of filling the gaps, adding letters and visuals subconsciously, placing words in my mouth, while my brain visually sees something else. Table instead of cabinet, left instead of there. A, n, t, r, e, v, n, I, s. Antrefnus. I filled the silence as a kid. I will always be too much for some and yet too quiet for others. Or not. Professional. Professional. I wish I could write barddoniaeth properly like Cynghanedd. P-U-S-H, push. Pushing my ability to balance everything. Pushing till I reach the edges. Picking at the cracks until... Pam ath neb deud wrthai? Pam ath neb egluro? Pam bod popeth mor anodd? Po, pe, e, Ti'n amazing, ti'n superwoman, ti byth yn stopio, dwi byth yn gwrando. Wel, efallai mae bre ni yn gweithio yn gwahanol i un ti, a falla mae bethau undiagnosed gennau, ond gas gen i y buzzwords. Must be amynyddgar. The gar. Overthinking, overstimulated, oversharing, over empath. Dwi angen llonydd. Dwi angen llonyddwch. So that was rather lovely. And then straight after that, I had 7 months of burnout. So what I mean by that is I tend to create work, and it was such a bonkers year, 2022, 23. That moment I had that solo show, that was it. I couldn't do anything. I didn't do any artwork. Normally I doodle, I'll do a sketchbook or I'll do something. And I literally did nothing. And I was finding it really difficult because people were going, oh, you're really busy and you're doing this and you're doing that. And I was like, I've not done a single piece of artwork for 7 months. And what broke the ice for me, or broke my brain, rewired my brain for me, was I joined a free, gosh, what would you call it? Like not a lecture, but like a webinar. I joined a free webinar through Artist Mundi back in May 2024. And it was Kerry Hand, and she was kind of talking and consulting and giving advice. And she just said, make the shit art. And that kind of hit me and made me go, stop waiting for deadlines, stop waiting for this approval, stop waiting for someone, to hand you a brief or this pressure, stop having this pressure to create work. Just make it. And you need to create to get to where you need to go. So I kind of hold that a lot when I get stuck and things like that. Just make the shit art. Oh, damn it, I forgot to mention something. So when I did the the piece for DAC, there was a small oval and it had like this vinyl, sort of mirrored metallic vinyl. And so that was back in 2022. And I knew in my head then I wanted that to be a mirror. But obviously at the time I couldn't. So at the end of 2024, when I started, I got another bursary, some seed funding from Cyngor Gwynedd, and that helped me carry on my practice and use my local makerspace. I tend to use makerspaces now and again in my work. And I finally got to start creating these kind of mirrored pieces. But what's beautiful about the exhibition in Neuro Expression, I'm going to go past this because I'm talking too much. What is beautiful about Neuro Expression for me is this is the first time I've been able to exhibit these mirrors, these etched laser cut mirrors, which was super exciting. And yeah, so all the pieces I put in, the ones you've just seen that I put in for my application, they're not, that's just me figuring things out in my studio. I haven't actually exhibited that. So yeah, like everyone else, I did this really last minute and I applied last minute, just going, oh, I should just try. And I'm so grateful to get into this exhibition, because not only is it kind of allowing me once again to focus on my practice and to trial new things and to create new work, which is what I always need. I need those deadlines. But it's also allowing me to just be an artist, because I don't, like a lot, maybe some of you here, I don't work full time on my art. I can't, I have to have a job. I have to pay the bills. So spending those 2 days with Jonathan and Kez, diolch Kez for all your help, installing this piece of work, it was such a blessing, but also be able to play. And it is, I had kind of, once I knew where I was going, I could start doing some drawings. So I do digital drawings and then I'll do some watercolors, and I get to get an idea of roughly what am I thinking about. It won't never be exactly, I don't kind of figure it out and measure it all and say I'm going to do this. It's about playing. So I'll roughly go, okay, I might have a large plywood screen print here. I might think, oh, what if I make sure that I bring a couple of ovals? I might play with these round ones, or I might, and it was just kind of that. It was like almost like collecting all these objects. But for me as well, and I wrote, because everything that I put in was all this kind of ultramarine blue and hot pink and gold, and they have been my colors that I've been obsessed with for a while, and I'd love to do a residency in color and find out why. And then someone said to me, it was like, yes, because it's your dopamine hit that makes you happy. You love those colors because there's something in them that you're just obsessed and drawn to. And I was like, oh yeah. But I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone. I wanted to use this yellow, which I find is, socially, kind of culturally, we all go, yay, yellow, joy and happy. But for me, I see it as sickly and garish and icky. And I find that really interesting. I really want to learn more about kind of colour meaning and how colour changes culturally across the world. But yeah, so I created, I think this is my third, so this is, so this is my third film. I have made another after Hins and Pully called Gwrthdaro, which was shown with Gwyl y Ferch in cinemas in Eisteddfod in Wrexham 2025, and also was shown in Gallery Caernarfon in the Open, which Cerys was also in the Open. So I showed that film Gwrthdaro there. But for me, it's this space. It's how I've been able to present this video piece here in Elysium, how overall it's an installation, but these objects and pieces can be seen as individuals. And it was beautiful that Kez got that straight away. She kind of sat down and she went, "Oh, I can see what you've done. Like you're looking at these as individuals, but also as a whole." And I was like, "Yay!" I feel like I've just rambled at you all for like 15 minutes. Um, I'm not going to go deep into anything. There's this kind of um, yeah, it's a mix of self-expression, research into dyslexia, research into neurodivergence, research into being a woman, research into like, and I might not kind of, it might stay in my brain and it might come out. But yeah, it's a it's been a joy to be part of this, to be honest. I did freak out a little bit. But then I had to give myself a prep talk and just say, make the shit up. So I got on with it. So the thing I will finish off with is the energy drains of focus and the power plays of don't be too much. Diolch fawr iawn. And that's me.